Alright, no messing around, let's jump right into this one. Last season there were some absolute bangers and some downright stinkers. We had Ryan Reynolds making a return, playing none other than Ryan Reynolds. Taika Waititi proved he don't miss with beloved pirate romance Our Flag Means Death, and who could forget cheaper when you slash the budget? Disney's latest wet puddle of a remake of a movie that you've already seen about a decade prior. There were some great and definitely memorable titles, but spring wasn't ready to tap out just yet and came out swinging with its own wide selection of heavy hitters to choose from. Sonic 2 proved that the video game movie curse was finally broken. Death on the Nile proved we can remake Agatha Christie until the heat death of the universe. We've got a plethora of new TV shows and movies that have genuinely caught my interest, and it's safe to say that our time at the cinema is gonna be looking up. Our time at the cinema is looking diverse. Our time is...
so that we could fill it with meaning.
Oh, for fuck.
Hey, wanna see something cool?
Yeah, okay.
Nice car.
Now I know a bunch of you are probably gonna skip this because, Viking Hamlet isn't really my thing, and that's okay. I hate art too, but damn did this film deliver in every way that it needed to. Coming straight from the mind of director Robert Eggers, purely flexing on us all with his artistic talent. The fight scenes are brutal and bursting with a raw energy that completely engrossed me from start to finish. The Northman is honestly mesmerizing to sit and watch, with an equally ephemeral score juxtaposed against its more brutal nature. It's more than worthy of being called an art house film. It's just a shame that the larger budget led to it bombing at the box office. It's rumored that Eggers will be returning to smaller scale projects like The Lighthouse and The Witch going forward, however, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Until then, good God, just look at that physique.
Oh my god, you could grind meat on it. Ah!
No season can be considered truly complete unless another sequel isn't squeezed out, and in this case we got another addition to the Harry Potter franchise with Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore.
I can milk you.
Grindelwald looks like he just got done downing a mega pint of Polyjuice potion, Dumbledore's in for the shock of his life when he ages 200 years in the next 10, and Newt Scamander is finding more ways to insert himself into a plot that doesn't concern him. It already felt like these movies were spreading themselves a bit thin by the end of the second one, what with the focus suddenly shifting onto Wizard Hitler and the Magic Civil War rather than Eddie Redmayne's creature comforts, and that feeling is only exaggerated further here. Half this film is spent doing nonsensical shit unrelated to the plot in order to confuse the bad guy, who we're told is omniscient. Huh. How does that even work? They throw in a creature from the Harry Potter compendium every now and then to keep the title of Fantastic Beasts secure, but it honestly just feels like they forced Newt into a plot that he doesn't belong in. Eddie Redmayne continues to shine as the quirky zoologist, however, and statistically speaking, thanks to his efforts, you're more likely to be attacked by Ezra Miller than you are anything magical.
If y'all wanna die...
Okay, so this next one is definitely not for those of a squeamish disposition, like myself. There have been so many films that have covered the topic of transhumanism over the years that many have fallen into a stereotypical cliche. The pristine white, totally morally correct facility with an impatient scientific protagonist testing out their idea on themselves because the government forced them to adhere to the Geneva Convention. Surprise, surprise, it usually doesn't work. So out from the shadows comes David Cronenberg to remind you that yes, your nightmares can get worse. Here is a world set an undisclosed amount of years in the future with human beings living in habitats composed almost entirely of silicon, as the outside world has been ravaged by the effects of pollution and climate change. So it's just LA on a good day then. Mankind has evolved to a level where physical pain and infectious disease are a thing of the past, and surgery and experimentation have now become forms of entertainment. I'm not gonna lie, it was really hard for me to get through this film. I'm not the biggest fan of horror. Every jump scare in a film gets me, and feelings of being unnerved genuinely cause me to hide behind the nearest object in my vicinity. On paper, I can see it being a work of stunning transhumanism, in which people discover brand new methods of arousal and expression.
In reality, however, from the moment I discovered the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me. I craved the strength and certainty of steel. I aspired to the purity of the blessed machine. I'm making a Warhammer 40k reference like anyone is going to get that.
Oh boy. In other news, hey, Jake Gyllenhaal is back and starring in a brand new action movie. I think it's hard to tell with how much this camera's moving. Oh god, anyone have any idea what's going on? Please, someone tell me. I have no idea what's happening. Wait, never mind, that explains everything.
I can see him in my mind's eye. Kenobi.
Hello there.
I've got to be honest, when I first saw the trailer for this and the prequel Mimo within me was absolutely hyping this up, I was prepared for the possibility that I was going to overlook any potential issues and flaws and go all in on an absolute cringe fest. This was the potential new face for prequel memes the world over, but now? I mean, it's definitely meme material, but
Why are you running?
yeah. We pick up the story 10 years after the events of Order 66 with Ben Kenobi hiding out on Tatooine, depressed and alone, barely getting by, working minimum wage at a maximum output job. Wait, why does this sound so familiar? Keeping tabs on young Luke while hiding from Sith Inquisitors, he's contacted one day by Bail Organa to help find Leia after her rather slow abduction. This is another show Disney are putting out to cash in on everyone's beloved admiration for Star Wars, and yeah, I'm more than likely gonna watch the whole show since I find the universe so fascinating. Between the many alien species, the philosophy behind the Sith and Jedi, and everyone's favourite character Gulp Shitto. The story is decent and the acting is fine for the most part, with some intriguing setup and character dynamics amongst the Sith Inquisitors and Kenobi's journey to find himself again. I'm definitely hoping it picks up steam and shows more of Darth Vader in his entirety in the next few episodes, but if I were a betting man, my current expectations would be to save my investment money for something more ironclad.
It's more than time.
Alright, sell everything right now.
Give
That's
me your
right,
entire
everything.
stock,
Sell
you
it
hear me?
right
Hashtag
now.
Morbius sweep.
Sony seem to be on an absolute roll lately with making every film in the Spider-Man universe that doesn't directly involve Spider-Man. Every film they make seems to inexplicably flop at the box office, but without fail always jumps to the forefront of everyone's mind due to how popular they are to talk about, and Morbius seems to be doing exactly that. The movie has quickly become the talk of the film community, and I can absolutely see why. You've got a tastefully done action film involving the most engaging characters of all time with Vampire 1, Vampire 2, bats. The setup for this film sounds like it would be an absolute shambles, but the movie is delivered in almost every single aspect from comedy to badass moments. What do you mean he doesn't say it's mobbing time during the film? Next thing you'll be telling me it's impossible to make a Kamehameha out of bats. Jared Leto's performance as Dr. Michael Morbius will leave audiences astounded with the sheer level of range that he's able to reach as an actor, from mild disinterest to fantastic line delivery such as
It's Morbin time.
awe-inspiring. His physical acting capabilities were utilised to their fullest, reportedly spending several months learning how to turn his body into a purple fart cloud, and even bite and suck people's throats without even a single drop of blood being spilt. Guess all those years and 30 Seconds to Mars finally paid off. With the after-credits scene tying this film to No Way Home and the strong ties to Venom and the other Sony projects, I think it's about time that Sony give us what we want, the superhero universe that the fans deserve to see. With such strong ties to Marvel, they've even got the perfect name picked out for them. They can just call it the MCU for fuck's sake. This is looking like a definite must-watch for any cinema goer out there if they want to see one of the movies of all time that broke box office records by flopping not once, but twice. Do yourself a favour and be a part of history so we can all look back fondly at this moment in time and think to ourselves, Sony did the right thing considering a sequel. Alright, pack it up, meme's dead. Now here's the one I've been looking forward to talking about most. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a movie that you can't simply be told about. You have to experience it. If I could only use a single word to describe this film, there's only one that would be appropriate. Art. Everything about it, from the characters, the story, even the absurdist humour, everything works together to form the most surreal and absurd movie that has one of the strongest emotional impacts I've seen in a long time. It blew every single expectation I had out of the water. Whatever comes out later this year better be absurdly good, because otherwise, this film is taking the best movie of 2022 by default. Michelle Yeoh sinks her teeth into a kaleidoscopic role that cheekily draws on her own genre-hopping catalogue of movies. She plays Evelyn Wang, a disillusioned and exhausted Chinese-American woman who runs a laundromat with her smilingly disappointing husband, Waymond. Over the years, Evelyn has harbored dreams of being everything from a singer, a novelist, to even a therapist. But in real life, she's consumed with worries about her daughter Joy, her visiting father Gong Gong, too scared to tell the latter that her granddaughter is gay, and too uptight to tell the former that she loves her anyway. As the tension and stress build during a confrontation at the IRS office, the usually placid Waymond is suddenly transformed into an action movie version of himself from another universe. On a Matrix-style mission to find the one who can save them from Jobu Tupaki, an all-powerful verse jumper who is threatening to tear reality apart. With one of the most thought-provoking speeches possible, he attempts to help Evelyn reach her full potential, revealing that an infinite number of alternative possibilities await our lead, and declaring that although she is currently living her absolute worst life, Evelyn is in fact capable of anything because she's so bad at everything. The action and choreography is second to none in this film, harkening back to the classic days of Jackie Chan's action movies. I've never seen a fanny pack look so cool than it does in this film. The film also manages to take the most absurd concept imaginable and make it into a tangible and relevant plot point. Whether that be snorting flies up your nose, having hot dogs that squirt condiments out for fingers, to even Chekhov's butt plug. To elaborate any more on the plot would just spoil the fun, but the power packed into everything everywhere all at once is that everything in this jumbled, elaborate chaos has a distinct purpose to it, fully capturing the fractured feeling of modern existence of never quite being at the wheel of your own life. Evelyn's task, she's told, is to take us back to how it's supposed to be, but that proves to be an empty phrase. If every path in life can live side by side, who's to say any of them are the right one? For all of its fantasy trappings, this is a film with real, down-to-earth concerns. Mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, coming of age and coming out, dreams and disappointments, generation gaps and information overloads. The narrative may be out of this world, but the problems it addresses are unmistakably human. Never before has a movie managed to make the concept of the multiverse so perfectly entwined not just within its own story, but in the cinematography and action, with characters splitting down the middle of the screen as if reality itself is cracking apart, showing how even the smallest of actions taken could have led us down an entirely different path in life. This movie's message resonated with me so profoundly that yes, while certain actions taken may have led you to become rich, successful, or even be the person you've always imagined yourself to be, you might not be happy. It's the you right here and now that really matters. While you may have made mistakes and hurt the people that you love most through absent-mindedness or parental pressure, that doesn't mean you should give up or stop fighting for them. Yes, there may be a universe where you're both successful, single, and rich beyond your wildest dreams, but maybe the simple thought of living together in a tiny house with several pets is what you're truly longing for. If the people in your life mean as much as they do to you, you should show them every day, and make an effort to make this reality the one where even if everything goes wrong, the love you fostered can help bring it back from the brink. I'm gonna need you all to drop whatever it is you're doing and go see this movie immediately. I don't care if Timmy's hungry, sit his ass down in that seat, stuff a 15-pound hot dog in his mouth, and make him watch this. You'll thank me later. Ooh, I think after all that it's time we lose a dimension or two, don't you? If the last few years have taught us anything, it's that Into the Spider-Verse has had more impact on the animation industry than we give it credit for. In the case of The Bad Guys, a somewhat bland-looking trailer should not have resulted in a film this good. Featuring a colourful cast of animals with a naming convention reminiscent of Reservoir Dogs, a stacked cast of talented actors, and an animation style you've all heard me go on about way too much. Based on a series of books by Aaron Blabby, my first impression of this film suggested it was going to be another lowest common denominator story about talking animals that would result in a mishmash of singing, toilet humor, and uninspired plotting. Looking at you, Sing. To be honest with you, some of the comedy is relatively simple and cringe, but the script itself surprisingly doesn't shy away from weightier elements, such as addressing stereotypes. The fact that people need a chance to thrive in life to bring out their good sides, the nature of criminal reform, and how outgrowing certain personality traits can cause some dysfunction in a larger friend group. It is by no means a perfect script, but it's definitely not a quick cash out either. I'd be lying if I said that The Bad Guys isn't easy to read or predict, but it does find an irresistible charm through impressively blending animation styles that lends a graphic novel touch to some of the fast-paced action sequences. If I had to put money on what would have been a popular hit this season, this would have been it. Thank you, small impressionable children. But even if it wasn't, you bet your ass I'm praying for this continued success of this 2D cel-shaded look that we've got going on, and that the new Puss in Boots movie can make as much of an impact as this film did. It brings the fluidity and motion to these films that I just adore, and I'll drink to that any day.
足元をよく見てください。奴らの正体は地面に落ちる平面の影の方です。なので影を踏まれることを嫌います。踏もうとすれば避けようと影の方だけが動いたりしますよ。
This totally reminds me of a Doctor Who episode I watched once.
Parkour! 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 I'm right behind you, Andy! Come on! Do it! Yeah! Yo!
It's such a shame to see a film do perfectly in every department and drop the ball completely in the one that matters. Look, I get it. Anime movies will never be perfect. Compared to a 24-episode season, it's hard to cram all the necessary information and character development you need into such a short time frame without it coming across as nonsensical or rushed. Would you get out of here? With that being said, meet Uta. She's 50% dish soap, 50% adorable, with a 100% chance of being in the running for Best Girl. Just look at that character design. Now that's drip if ever I've seen it. Wait a minute. Bubble is the latest anime movie from Studio Wit to release on Netflix this year and is easily the most 6 out of 10 I can possibly recommend. Taking place in a post-apocalyptic Tokyo after it mysteriously becomes encased in a giant bubble. Gravity's done a fucky-wucky, leading to many teens and adults to start dangerously free-running inside the city, using floating debris and stray bubbles as leverage to stay out of the churning ocean water below. Visually, this movie is an absolute masterpiece with a profound art style and color palette that only helps to entice you ever deeper into its world. I mean, just look at these eyes, man. Windows to the soul. Choreography and sound design all come together perfectly to give you some of the best parkour scenes you've ever seen, and the soundtrack absolutely slaps. Then there's the story and characters. Straight up, this would have worked so much better as a show. Some of these designs are top tier and have a grand total of 5 minutes screen time or less. You trying to tell me you wouldn't be interested in the backstory of the high-tech group of mutes who talk through their hands? Our main crew are likable enough for the most part, but due to the capped runtime of the film, often come across as one note or just don't get any development at all. This guy's entire deal is making sure our main group can all compete in the next competition. He gets arguably one of the most badass moments later on in the film, but up until that point, he's just, "So, about the game, guys, hope you're all ready for the game. I said, are you ready for the game?" Hibiki offers an interesting take on a protagonist, what with his hypersensitivity and connection to the bubble apocalypse, but he suffers from a minor case of protagonist syndrome, meaning his backstory is the only one that matters, and it doesn't need to be fleshed out. The writing is unfortunately Bubble's biggest letdown. Between a strong visual style and everything else being beyond absurd levels of quality, the story of teenagers competing in a race, talking about the race, planning for the next race, save Tokyo from evil sentient bubbles, doesn't quite hit as hard as it should, with weak characterization and some lines of dialogue that definitely could have been rewritten. And if you thought Belle was rather on the nose with the fact it was an animated retelling of Beauty and the Beast, then Bubble straight up beats you over the head with it.
The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid. I'm the Little Mermaid.
Lately, original animated series are becoming more and more apparent as the demand for the medium continues to evolve. While adaptations of manga and light novels are still the primary go-to source material, many original productions have begun taking shape in recent years. In particular, they all seem to be animated by Studio Wit. The highly regarded studio has now given us yet another original animated series for the 3rd year in a row with Vampire in the Garden. Now, the thematic themes of two characters coming together from their respective backgrounds is not by any means a revolutionary concept, but in the short time the series had, Vampire in the Garden manages to give its audience a firm grasp on how two separate worlds operate and what each one believes in. Not only does the world building grow at an expeditious rate, but the reasoning for why our two main characters come together ends up constructing a gut-punching narrative that's impossible to not get invested in, and the series deserves credit for managing to do all of this in just 5 episodes. The issue of depth is really the closest thing that Vampire in the Garden has to a fatal flaw. It's a sweet, sad, and genuinely compelling small story, but I can easily imagine a version existing that had more room to breathe and really live in its world. The series' take on a broken down apocalyptic Eastern European setting deserves more exploration, with more unique locations for the pair of runaways to visit and more stories to give it shape and texture. Despite this, once you look past the simplistic concept, the series actually delivers on many fronts that anime fans look for in a series. There's great action, impressive animation, stellar characters, beautiful artwork, an invigorating soundtrack, and above all else, a well-written script. As it stands, while it may not have the kind of blockbuster ambition that will earn it a place in the top tiers of the genre pantheon, it remains a beautiful and thought-provoking story, if a bit rushed and simplistic. Its throwback horror fantasy trappings are nothing if not pleasing to the eye, and potentially going forward, there's a lot that they— It's not getting a season 2, is it? God damn it.
It's not a game.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Look at that. Despite everything I've had going on, you've still had a new video released to you within a reasonable time frame. I just want to thank everyone for the support on the channel the past few weeks. My last video blew up in terms of what I thought this channel was capable of, and now that I've seen it's possible, 100 subs by the time my first video hits a year old. Let's go. I know I should probably schedule my workload better, right? But focusing more on the quality rather than the deadlines I've set myself has done wonders for my creativity. Equally, this season has definitely felt more like quality over quantity compared to the last one, and I'm not complaining. I mean, I will for the sake of content for this video, but not for my overall genuine enjoyment. I really want to give the spotlight to as many shows or movies as I possibly can, but between everything being much higher quality as of late, and the first draft of this script being rather long, I didn't want to sit you down for 25 minutes going over every last little detail. I'm saving that for the Ava rebuild video. I hope you all managed to find something worth watching this season because there's been a lot of interesting shit. But that's it for me for today. I've been Nefri, and I'll see you back here in the height of summer. Ciao!